8th, 2020 Bladen County Commissioner meeting. And at this time, we're happy to have Reverend Bruce Miller with Hickory Grove Baptist Church will be giving our invocation, followed by Mr. Martin. If you would stand, please, Mr. Miller. You can come forward, please, sir.
Thank you all for the privilege of being here. Let's pray. Gracious God Almighty, I do lift up this meeting for you tonight. I lift up these commissioners. I know each one has given much thought to the business, and they have varying opinions. Father, I pray the same prayer I pray at church when we have a business meeting. Help us to be good hearers and good listeners. Thank you, Lord, that each one can speak with the freedom, knowing that they'll be heard of. Guide them and direct them. And Lord, bless our county, bless our nation. May we bless you. In Christ's name, amen.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Mungoins, one of our commissioners, is not here tonight. She'll be home remotely with us. With that being said, all of our, we will have to have a roll call and everything that requires a motion tonight. So be patient with us, or it takes a little longer time to have that done. And before I ask for approval on the consent items, I would like to go down and remove B under line item 5. Based on a new state law, we cannot take action on that tonight, so we would like to remove B.
Motion to approve the consent items with the removal of 5B.
We got a motion by Mr. Peters.
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Good. Roll call. Ray Britt, I approve. Mr. Dallas. Here. Mr. Bullock.
Yes.
Mr. Cogdell.
Yes.
Ms. Trivett.
Yes.
Dr. Mungoins.
I don't think she can hear us. We certainly can't hear her. We're having trouble with her.
We got to hear her.
I've been sending the phone number to her, and I haven't gotten any response.
Could someone call her telephone number? Read you trying to read it. Rob, can you tell if she's logged in?
Yeah, I can see her.
Y'all be patient. I'm on a lot of boards. We're running this quite often. can you hear me, Dr. Mungo and Ray Britt?
Hey, Dr. Watson, this is Greg. Can you not hear us on the video? Good moment. Okay. We can hear you just a moment ago when you said so. I'm gonna put my phone up here, Chairman, so that you can hear, and then, because we can hear you on the speaker here. If you say so, can you hear her on the speaker?
Dr. Mungo, can you hear me, Ray Britt?
Dr. Montgomery. Okay, I'm just gonna sit my phone on the table beside Mr. Britt. Okay, thank you.
We're approving the consent items, Dr. Mungo, and I need your vote. Remove, that's right.
I have one question.
Sure.
The one document that the alphabet, correct? I want to make sure.
On H, opt-out of the Social Security Tax Deferral Program, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll approve.
Okay, and so we got your approval with the understanding of B under matter of interest commission. Or public hearing, I'm sorry, 5B.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That being said, Madam Clerk, unanimous on that. Individual delegations that wish to address commissioners. Okay, thank you. Matter of interest to commissioners. Mr. Martin, would you like to take the time first, please, to introduce our new Human Resource Director, Ms. Tashiel Jones?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure to this evening to introduce Tashiel Jones as the county's Human Resources Director. She has been on board now about 3 weeks, and she's gotten off to a great start. She comes to Bladen County from Wayne County Public School System. She has a background in human resources there. She also graduated from Shaw University, and she has a master's degree in human resources from Webster University. She originally, I think she was born in Bladen County, lived in Bladen County when she was young, moved off, and now we're glad to have her back. She and her husband reside at White Lake. So it's my pleasure to introduce her to you.
And I'd like to add to that, Mr. Martin, it was a pleasure for me to sit on the interview board. Did a fantastic job. We were all excited and very happy for you and look forward to many years of working together. Would you like to make some comments at this time?
I just want to say it's been a pleasure being here so far. I've been well received, and I appreciate everyone that has handed me being here, and I am really excited to be a good person and work with everyone here.
Thank you so much. All right, this time we'd like to consider appointing Bladen County Democrat Party recommendation for Mr. Robbie Priest to fill vacancy on the Bladen County Commissioner Board until our first meeting in December. And we got a motion by Mr. Cogdell, second by Mr. Privet. Roll call. Ray Britt, yes. Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Gooden?
Yes.
Mr. Dallas?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdell made the motion. Mr. Privet? Dr. Mungoins?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Unanimous. And we look forward to our next meeting, having Mr. Robbie Priest here and Mr. Russell Priest, his family here as well. And we all are elated about it and excited about it, and look forward to working with Mr. Priest. And thank you all for coming too. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say one thing.
Yes, sir.
The Southeast Community and Family Services that does the Head Start in our area, they have now changed their name to Southeastern Community Action Partnership. And I'd like to thank the Commissioner for officially selecting me to continue one more year as Chairman of the Board of Directors. for that organization. Also, they are in the process of opening a center in Elizabethtown, in the old JC building. They're taking application now for individual kids, that is, 3 to 4 years of age, had to have that age limit by August the 31st. But they will be opening a center here in Elizabethtown.
That's off of Davis Street, isn't it?
Yes, sir. The old JC building.
Gotcha.
Again, I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to serve an additional year.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Anyone else?
I got
Yes, sir,
something
Mr.
down
Scott.
here. It's somewhat public related, but Ms. Martin, could you please have DOT to check at the, I think it's the turnoff on MLK at 87? Somebody has wiped out all the do not enter signs and wrong way. And I just seen a car come through that loop heading the wrong way. And we need to see if we get them to see if they can put some temporary signs or do something up there on that. That police, but there is, at the MLK, when you come out where you make that little loop, that make that Michigan loop,
Yes, sir.
they going in the wrong way.
Okay, thank you.
Also, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Martin, the directional sign, if you're traveling north on MLK, the directional sign is covered up with growth. Telling you which way 87 goes, as far as to the left or right, it's covered up with vines, entire sign.
Thank you.
That's out in the same area that Commissioner Cockdale is talking about.
All right. Go down to line item number 5, public hearing. As we said before, we're here to, I declare, go into an open hearing on the request for property located at 118 Davis Road, and Darlington, number 1367000755589. But as I said before, we'll listen to you folks tonight, anyone that's here that wants to speak on it. But we will not be taking any action until our next meeting due to a new change of state law.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do you need a motion on the public hearing?
No,
Okay.
just to clear open hearing. At this time, Madam Clerk.
Yes, like Mr. Britt said, 118 Davis Road, August the 10th, I received an application for Mr. Jermaine Johnson, who's present with us tonight, with the interest of him putting a like a 12 by 12 office space building on the lot, currently beside his parents' house, and for the purpose of using it as an office for his car sales business. We notified adjoining property owners by certified mail. And when I say adjoining property owners, it's property owners that actually, the land is actually touching. And then I posted the property with a sign to make the community aware of what was going on, and advertising in the Bladen County. And tonight, the planning board met via teleconference at their for our last meeting, and I received a favorable recommendation from the planning board. So tonight it was sent to the commissioners for the commissioners to hold public hearing. And we do have, I know a couple of folks, adjoining property owners here to speak. And did Jermaine sign in too? So did they have to sign in? Okay, they don't have to sign in. Gotcha. So,
Thank you,
any
Mr.
questions?
At this time, we hear folks who would like to speak.
Where did you sign, sir?
It's right there located at the property.
Okay, I own the property right beside of the site. And I got a letter that was postmarked 20th of August. And I had to go to the post office to pick it up twice to get it, so I didn't get it on the 20th of August at all. And I have concerns about this proposed zoning change because I cars? How large is the building? What will happen with will there be refurbishment of these cars if they're not running? Will there be a place that they will need to be repaired? What will happen to the oil that is being taken out of the car? And will it be dumped on my father's property? There are EPA issues that I don't believe we really thought through yet. So that is a concern. The other concerns are what kinds of properties has Mr. Johnson had in the past? I was told that Mr. Johnson had been selling cars in another area without proper business credentials. I was told this. Now, I cannot tell you, I have not researched this, but I was told this. So, if that's the case, then what will this ultimately become? I know it's X amount of land, and besides that, I don't want this business to be on my daddy's property. There are trees that have grown up, but my daddy's property goes past the trees. And I do not want anything that would be encroaching on my daddy's property. So the thing is that what's the number of cars? What will be intended after use of this property? Because as you and I know, sometimes we just have false properties there, and we're really doing something else, and that's just a show. It's a front, so to speak. So what other, are there other agendas with this property? And how will it impact the traffic on this road that I live on? I live like further down, a mile further down, not on my daddy's property, myself and my husband's property. But we don't have, that road has no business zoning on it, none. It's agriculture, it is residential. Did you understand what I'm saying?
I sure do.
Okay. So this is not in the same usage that this land in this area called Davis Road. And Davis Road has a lot of traffic, but we don't need any more. You know, so, but I'm saying, and then another thing, as far as the need for a used car lot, I know someone in this area around my house, I'm not talking about here in Elizabeth County, but around my house, that's been selling one car from their driveway for about 3 months, and it hasn't sold yet, and the price is not outrageous or anything like that. So I'm saying that why is it that all of a sudden we on Davis Road now need a used car lot? I mean, that's my point. Why do we need it? Are all environmental issues being addressed? Yeah, that kind of thing. And also, I do know that there is an issue about Mr. Johnson having had a used car lot in the past, that he did not have the sales credentials and was selling cars without having the credentials. Now, this is what I was told. I will have to say this is hearsay because I did not research this, but I know I was told this. And I'm not sure that hearsay evidence means anything at all. But the fact is that it's not going to make the air cleaner, it's not going to, I don't see any advantage for it at all. So,
Thank you for your input.
thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Marie, did you get her name? Where's her land? Where's the land reference to where he's going to put it?
Right beside of it.
I mean, which
It
side?
touches it.
Which side?
Well, see, nobody sent me anything but one letter that says almost nothing. So,
Where's your land?
there it is.
It is.
You can step on up.
And this is Dave.
Am I sufficiently clear about it that I can get around my
Everything
house?
here is my daddy's land. My daddy's land goes over here too. My daddy's land is everywhere
My
about.
sister's already, so I don't want to hurt them.
That's fine.
My name is Emily Codle, and I'm originally from Bladen County. Carlene and I were both born on that farm. That is the David Carlisle Codle farm. It was a farm given to him by his daddy, David Franklin Codle, who was born in Guilford County and came to Bladen County to cut trees for the naval stores in Cypress Creek Bay. And he liked Bladen County so well that he stayed. And my daddy was the first of his sons and daughters born in Bladen County. So my grandfather originally from Guilford County. The land that Carlene refers to has been in the family then since the turn of the century. And there was a corner that was not on the property that my granddaddy bought. He couldn't buy that land. That land was left to the heirs, the black heirs of Mr. Miller, who was a big landowner. And my grandfather had a tram road that went from this area that I'm speaking of, and probably those of you from other parts of the county probably know what I'm referring to. It went across the South River. So what Carlene and I are saying is that we have a vested interest in progress for the county, but we think that this is the wrong kind of progress. We like some agribusiness, small business, and he wanted to come in and maybe plant some peach trees. And there's a nice sandy field. We like to plant peach trees on the hill. That would be an agricultural use and not inconsistent with what's already there. We see this as a total anomaly to the flavor of the community. The property that I was referring to, years ago, it was difficult to get a clear deed to it because it was left to heirs, many people. And somehow or other, the FHA would never approve of building a stick house from the ground up. So a lot of double wides and trailers are in the area, and they're all well maintained, and except for occasional drug bust in the area, we get along fine. Last night there were gunshots everywhere, and the deputies were all in and out of the area. So I'm not describing a totally bucolic area, but I came from Wake County, where I lived for 30 years and taught and everything else. And I moved back because I wanted to come back to the farm. I remodeled my parents' house and added to it, and the tax base to reflect that. But what I guess Carlene and I are saying is, where is the great overriding need? If I welcome Mr. Jermaine Johnson back to the community, I know his parents, in fact. But a used car lot? Aren't there business lots here in Elizabethtown or Clarkton or Tar Heel, Douglas, that could use an entrepreneur? I mean, the last thing I want to do is stop somebody making money and adding to the tax base. And I think that's probably your. But is there a need? And as Carlene pointed out, is it big enough? You know, it seems to me, and I don't want to fault the planning department, but why weren't we apprised of this in the early stages? It's so hard to disappoint Mr. Jermaine Johnson. And that's not my goal. to me like that an opportunity was missed to bring us along. I mean, and I didn't receive a letter. Carla got the letter. And took her 2 trips to the post office to secure it. So it wasn't without effort. And, you know, it's, so I would ask the board to consider this as if you're living next to it. And what is the impact of land that you own and that would be suitable for residential, young farmers coming back to the area. And I'm not young, but I came back. Carlene came back. Incidentally, Carlene and I aren't just non-investors in the community. We started Kitchen Sisters almost 8 years ago, Antioch Kitchen Sisters. I came before the board asking for some meals on wheels. It wasn't this board, a different board, but Bladen County Commissioners. Since that time, nothing was offered us. It didn't work out. We were told there was nothing in the budget for that side of the county. So Carlene and I said, you know, well, what can we do? We're not just going to accept no. So we cook. I cook. Carlene helps prepare, and we both deliver meals to 54 people, all up and down the South River. We had a woman that lived at Ennis Bridge. Do you know how far it is from Antioch United Methodist Church to Ennis Bridge? But this woman had no access to meals, no company, nobody visiting, nobody seen about her. She subsequently has died. Dear friend of mine. We started first grade together. So we have anecdotal stories of people that we have worked with. It'll be our 8th anniversary in November. And when we've done 10, I'd like for you to recognize us as well. I'll remind you. Because when we get some positive publicity, that means that we get donations to continue our project. I offer you my best regards and hope that you will take our concerns under advisement and that you'll keep us informed. And if there's some medium ground, or the gentleman wants to put up another kind of business, then, you know, maybe we would be open. We are not closed-minded, white privileged.
Thank you for coming.
And I thank you very much. And Ms. Martin, thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I'm Jermaine Johnson.
That's right, Mr. Johnson.
I basically, I think they got a misunderstanding of what I'm trying to do as far as the car lot. Basically, what I'm more going to be a private seller. It wouldn't be a 75 car. It wouldn't be a 10 car. It wouldn't be a 5 car. I'm just starting out. As far as me having a dealership prior to this, you can check the records. There's certain things that you have to do to be a dealer. I went to school last month, got all the credentials that I need. Basically, what I need is the DMV has to have a place to come and check your records. And they come in, you gotta have a space, a desk, a file cabinet. Okay, yeah, sure, I can rent another, space somewhere in Elizabethtown, but I have my own land right beside my parents. So it would be the same thing if I say, hey, I don't want you to plant your peach trees over beside my house. That's basically what they're telling me. And it's not a front. I don't understand that terminology. Basically, I graduated East Bladen in 1997. I've been a barber for 20 years. I have my own shop in Night. I have 2 different other rental properties. So as far as the front, I can't afford to have 75 cars on a lot. Basically what I am doing is I'll buy a car from auction because you have to have a dealer license to go to the auction. And I will sell it, I'll buy another car. Basically it's not a car lot with all the lights and the flag and everything flying around. Basically what I need is to be able to get my dealer license. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to. You have to have a 96 square foot building for them to come in and inspect. I'm not trying to, front or, basically I have a wife and kids. And I'm just trying to support them. COVID came, I was out of work for 3 months. So during that time, I took and went to school to try to better myself. So, I mean, what more could you ask for as a person if, you're trying to better yourself? I'm 42 years old. So all I ever done was cut hair. I started with Al's Barbershop right here. I worked here for a year. And then I left and went to Night. So now that my mom is, her health is declining, I've been home every week, sometimes during the week also. So, I mean, I feel sort of bad that they would, will bring hearsay up here, or either, basically, I operate off facts. So when you find the fact that I had a car lot that didn't go right, or I did it illegal or whatever, please put it in writing and let me see. Check the records. You have to have records for that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I'm just basically trying to help myself, so I can take care of my family. And basically that's all I have to say about that. I didn't know it was going to be an issue as far as, what would go there. And I understand the concerns as far as, the traffic and all that. But I'm here saying that mainly things now with the car sales is all internet sales. We have marketplace and all that kind of stuff. So there wouldn't be a need for me to have 10 or 15 cars on the lot at all. And you are talking about my parents still stay right beside also. So I'm concerned about traffic and everything also. So it's not just about them. I mean, my parents and my family is around the perimeter also, adjacent and behind. So I appreciate your time, and I hope y'all consider, improving it. And I think that wraps it up for me.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
could
sir.
I talk with Mr. Evans for a moment and ask him a question?
Yeah.
Ms. Evans,
Greg, Mr. Cobb, got a question.
on the property that's in question, you have to meet certain criteria to the planning board to determine whether or not that property, you got your property, did it meet all the criteria? you said?
There are setback requirements for, if you're gonna put a structure on it, 50 feet front setback, and 30 feet off the sides, and 25 off the rear.
Did it meet the footage and requirements?
Yes.
For footage to have a lot there, to put a car lot
Yeah,
there?
it was an existing lot, and the building that's gonna be, proposed building that's gonna be placed on there is like a 12 by 12, which is, relatively small building, so meeting the setbacks will not be an issue.
So it met all the zoning requirements, that's what I'm
Yes.
asking. It meet all the zoning requirements that we have on file
Yes.
for Bladen County, it met all the requirements.
And as far as a car lot, there's not any specific requirements as far as fencing or lighting or anything like that. Hopefully when we redo our zoning ordinance, we can come up with some other, more specific criteria for different types of development.
And right now, it met all.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to know the exact dimensions of that lot, please, because my father's property includes over 100 acres, 540 acres. I believe that.
I'm not sure the exact dimension, I know it's a half acre, but you know the exact dimensions of it?
I don't know that exact. I know it's half acre. I know it's half acre.
It's not that. It's not that.
Thank you all for coming, and I declare this zoning hearing closed at this time. Mr. Elkins, keep your seat for the census update.
Okay, on the census, we have, till the end of the month. We got to the end of the month to, get folks to fill it out, fill the forms out. We have, the enumerators have started going door to door. They started August the 11th, going door to door, getting folks to fill out their forms. Also, I found out Friday that the folks who have not responded are getting another paper form in the mail to fill out. And as of today, 60% of the households that have not responded have been visited by what they call an enumerator. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody was at home when they went there, but they go up to 3 times. So we still got that going on. One thing I did a couple of weeks ago, some of y'all may have gotten a call. I did a reverse 911 call, reminding people, and we've reminded them and reminded folks. Tell them they can go online still at my2020census.gov. There's a phone number they can call. I've had people come to my office that I've just asked, have you done your census yet? No. I said, well, you want to do it now? We can sit down here. So I've done, help a few people, not many, but less than 20 people, 15 people. The social media, every time, I don't know how many folks see things on social media that different folks have posted, but I'm always forwarding those. And of course, always, Bladen Journal and Bladen Online, have been great. There's an article that was in the Bladen Journal today. And also, I heard this weekend on Channel 6 and Channel 3 that they had news segments, with folks promoting the census. So that's what we're doing. We got about 20 more days.
I think it's important that people need to understand. The Census Bureau itself predicted that we would lose about 2,000 people, which that's a couple of $1 million. Am I right, Mr. Martin? Wasn't it indicated that we would probably lose 2,000? That's besides what we're losing now. And people need to realize this is, what, $1,850 per person for 10 years. So you're talking
Per person per year.
per year, that's what I'm saying. So this is a lot of money, folks, directly and indirectly, that will affect our county. We're not just talking about the 2,000 we're losing. We're several thousand behind. So we're talking millions and millions of dollars our county is subject to lose. And if we don't change our pace right now, we're going to lose it. And,
I don't know how many of y'all have seen it, but there's we secured a grant for $2,000. Kelsey Edwards helped with that through the Library Association, and we were able to get 3 billboards in the county. One's across the river, coming back into town. One's on 87, and the other one's on 701, going to Clarkston. So, people have seen the signs, they've heard the TV commercials, they've heard it on the radio, they've read it in the paper. Do it.
I think we're finding out that the schools really helped when schools were in and these kids had to take everything home. I think it's showing that how bad we missed that.
Mr. Evans, you shared with me a while ago about when people come in the office and you ask them and help them get the census. That might be a good thing for you to do with Greg and Mark, department heads, if you had it. Tell all county department heads that someone comes in and asks them. And then we also talk about maybe going to the farmer's market or food line or something like that. Said, I think these 20 days are important, and I don't know anything you need to do more important than these people signed up.
And Mr. Bullock, you've been very much involved. Can you shed some light on some of it?
The first day that it was available online, I completed for my entire household.
My wife did too.
But we're still getting mailers telling us to do it.
We've had 3
Yeah,
mailers since we did it.
If you've done it, just, they're just following up, I guess.
But it makes you wonder if you did do it.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
And we found out too, that sometimes the landlord would tell the renter that he or she does not have to completed because HUD already knows who you are. So sometimes it's misleading the information out there. So, but as long as I do publicity for our church and I put it out, and as long as everybody kind of put the word out, we can help each other. Because it's very important, looking at it from a revenue standpoint, it's very important that we get everybody counted.
Right.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lee.
Do you have a percentage in Bladen County?
Yes, what was it down? 47%?
I think it's 40.
Now, keep in mind, that's the self-response rate. I don't have any updated numbers for these 60 households that these enumerators have gone to and actually filled the form out for those people. I don't have any numbers on that because I specifically asked for that. So the only numbers I have represent the ones who did it on the phone or did it on the computer.
And that's 47%, I believe, isn't it?
47%, yeah.
And
So you would think if 60% of the households had been visited and a majority of them, you know, that they were able to get some kind of response, I mean, that's the key.
Then the report
It
said
should go, but I don't know when, at what point we would know when those numbers are available.
the reports also give you a response status by municipality.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I've got those. Bladensboro is 49.7%, Clark 43, Dublin 38, East Arcadia 47, Elizabethtown 53, Tar Heel 45, and White Lake 17.5. And the thing about White Lake, that might be causing some of our, what Jan Hester was telling us, that might be causing our numbers to be, because you got seasonal population and causing our numbers to be low. Anyway, we got to, keep doing what we need to do more than what we've been doing, but do something.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.
Revenue Department, Renee Davis.
Good evening. I'm here for 3 different items. Item A, I got property at 1961 Middle Road that was foreclosed this year by the county with an investment of $5,500. On August the 19th, an offer of $3,000 was placed, and the customer is asking the board to consider accepting the lower bid.
Motion to decline.
Got a motion from Mr. Peterson, decline, second by Mr. Gooden. Any further discussion? We'll have a roll call. Ray Rick declined. Mr. Dallas. Declined. Mr. Bullock.
Decline.
Mr. Cogdell. Declined, Mr. Hogan. Ms. Trigger. Dr. Mungoins.
But Mr. Rick, can you tell me when they make their vote, can you tell me what they, can you repeat it so I know what they're saying?
Yes, everyone declined it.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
You're quite welcome.
On item B, property at 219 Allen Circle was foreclosed in 2009 by the county with an investment of $2,460. On August the 24th, an offer of $2,460 was placed, and customers asking the board to consider accepting the bid to proceed with the upset procedure.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Cogdell, a second by Mr. Peterson. Any further discussion? Roll call. Ray Britt approved. Mr. Peterson approved. Mr. Gooden?
Approved.
Mr. Gooden approved. Mr. Dallas? Approved. Mr. Dallas approved. Mr. Bullock?
Approved.
Mr. Bullock approved. Mr. Cogdell made the motion. He approved. Mr. Trivett? Mr. Trivett approved. Dr. Mungoins?
I approve. Thank you.
All approved. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, on item C, if you can remember, adding staff. So then, page 4, I'm sorry, page 3, you'll see that what our actions that we did in our office during this time. We had ongoing review and maintenance of accounts. We started researching unlisted business personal. We created some new payment plans. We added vouchers to our original bills. We started enforcing attachments of bank accounts, salaries, tax refunds, and the sale of property. We also hired a part-time collection support employee, and we started putting for sale signs on the county-owned property, and then in the future, we're going to put some foreclosed sale at the courthouse steps for the signs. Then on page 4,
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
on this page here, in action taken, have you seen any success in it as far as?
yes, sir, and there's going to be, you'll see that.
Okay, all right, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's fine. Page 4, this is just looks familiar to you as I showed this to you last month. As of June 30th of 2020, our 2019 tax year outstanding was 42% higher than the previous year. And you'll see 18 to 19 was your 2018 outstanding was a lot less than your 2019. So within that time frame from 18 to the time that we did our 2019 deals, we actually added the payment plans. We created those immediately after the Department of Revenue had came by. The vouchers we actually started in 2019 of July. So that was 2019 was our current tax year. But at the end of June of 2020, your 2019s were already delinquent. So the outstanding this year, of course, the increase was more than the 2018 was. You can see that difference. And even before we asked the North Carolina Department of Revenue, we had a little a little decrease of our outstanding taxes. So you can see that also. Okay, now,
What's the difference in those pages, like
page 5, I want to tell you about page 5. This, as of August the 31st, the 2020 taxes that we just announced in July, they're our current taxes now. And our 2019 is our last year taxes. And as of August 31st of this year, our outstanding was $11,232,818, which is 7% higher than this time last year. And a lot of people pay with that discount amount. So we're already seeing the trend that we're having more outstanding. So we know the longer it's outstanding, the harder it is to collect. It takes more effort to collect outstanding now that we have more to collect in delinquent status, and our office needs more effort to collect those.
So what is the difference from page 4 and page 5 from year 18 and 19, where you're looking at outstanding 19, $10 million, and 19 over here is $1 million outstanding?
Okay. It goes as of that particular date.
How do you gain $10 million? I mean, you don't, I don't understand how you're comparing the two sheets.
So August 31st of 2019, at the end of that month, and August 31st of 2020, last year on August 31st, we had an outstanding balance of $10.4 million.
This says, page 4 says, and I don't mean to confuse you,
No, you're
I'll
fine.
understand it later. You got tax collection 6/30/2020.
Okay, that was the end of June.
Well, there wasn't $1 million on 19.
That's right.
So when you go to 8/31/2020 and 19, you got 10 million.
The 19s, your 2019s as of August 31st of 2019 and August 31st of 2020. If you said year ago of August, that's what we have outstanding.
I'll get it later on.
Okay. You have to remember it's from year to year what that month was.
I'm trying to compare what you got here.
Yeah, it's just that 1 month. What that 1 month, that's what we had outstanding. That was when the 2019s were actually sent out. And that's what we had of August of 30th, 2019, and the 2020s is August 30th of 2020.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, and I know this is an unusual time in the middle of the year to be asking for anything like this, but this is to asking to convert a part-time position to a full-time position. However, we're trying to be proactive, trying to act in the best of the county. So on page 6, it's an investment of $45,068 annually. That's with benefits included in the amount, and that will fulfill the salary of the full-time position, which will be collection support and audit specialist. This position will not only decrease our outstanding accounts, but also assist with personal property audits, which will bring in new revenue. So the return on this investment will be more pay than itself.
If,
You got a part-time person in there?
We do have a part-time collection support.
They work, how much time do they put in?
It's 20 hours a week.
You want to double the amount of time for full-time?
We want it to be full-time.
This is the same individual, this would be the same individual, or would you?
We would actually have to go through our Bladen County policy, and we have to advertise in-house. We would still have to do that.
if I may, let me make a comment here, from a business standpoint for myself and how collection affects, say, my business, which is the same with anybody that does it. I see two benefits here. Number one, I see the benefit for our county for the revenue coming in on time and more and collecting a bigger percentage. The number two thing that I like about it, which is really more important to me, is you're helping to force and trying to work out a plan for someone to save their home. And from my point, when we sell furniture, and if I don't force collection, and they leave owing me $800, I've allowed my customer to leave me, and then when they have $5,000 cash in their pocket from tax season, Ray may have the best deal, but I can't go back and see him because I left owing him $800. In this case, we're trying to help and get that person to pay in several different means of opportunity so that they don't lose their home. In my case, I've lost my customer, and if you lose 100 of those a year, and we probably do, how many does that affect after 20 years, 2,000 people? Then you start working numbers. So you know, why don't they have a business? Well, you didn't force the people to pay you, and they're spending their cash somewhere else. But I support it for the simple fact of helping the people to save their home and the county to receive the revenue. To me, it's good business.
Mr. Brett,
Yes.
we need a workshop. I don't think I'm the only one that don't understand.
I'm giving that the same person.
I mean, I need to understand.
What justification do you have to present to us that would show that this equates that difference? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
The collection rate was last year.
But do you have figures that you
collected.
give her if you increase it by 40? If you increase it by 40, will we see the difference in the rate? Where I don't see, I'm trying to understand the same thing Charles said, with the numbers.
The outstanding for the page, as of June 30th, it goes by what it was June 30th of 2019. I print something June 30th of 2020. it takes the figure of 2019 tax year on June 30th, and it says, this is your outstanding. On June 30th of 2019, it said your 2018 was this figure. So there's a difference of 42% increase of our outstanding, which means we got more to collect.
These charts has got bill collected and outstanding, and the numbers are different. The bill numbers should be the same in June as it is in August.
So, well, that's included.
And that's where I'm confused. I can get mine offline.
I'm trying to figure out how you,
What happens is, during billing, you have an original levy. And in with that billing, there's adjustments. And in with that billing, there is land use deferred, which is discoveries, which we add. Then there may be abatements, which you every month get, and you take away. So at that time, that bill levy is always changing. Your original bill and what you levy is when we first send out those bills. That's what you start with. But by the time you get to June, that levy that's billed is changed because of all those adjustments or discoveries, your land use, and all those will equal that total levy. And we have to give that to the accountant on what all we adjust, all we discover, and that figure is going to always change.
But your collection rate, the bottom line, your correct collection rate percentage has been much higher, and more revenues come in. Is that correct, Mr. Martin?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the concern is, as we see it, we're trying to do real-time, the most real-time information that we have, the best real-time information we have. What we're seeing is that the percentage of collections for current year taxes is declining. We saw that when she made her report last month, and then as she indicated through August 31st, we saw that a smaller percentage has been collected this year than was collected last year. We also know that there's a great deal more additional effort required to collect taxes once they're past due. And so rather than wait until July, we would bring this concern to you because we feel like the investment is worth, the return will be worth the investment.
And the results that you've seen though from this person already in that department have brought more funds to the table.
Yes, sir. But as Ms. Davis said, the position will have to be advertised.
Right, because I asked.
Well, that's what I'm saying when I say person, position.
Could I ask you first, maybe, about before you meet, while you're here? I'm looking at page number 4. You got bill 20,999,555. Then you got the collected 19,946. Then you saying you got 1,000,009, so that means that's through that whole entire year.
Yeah, as of June 30th, our 2019, that is just 2019 taxes. Our current year was 2019.
That's, okay.
And that was just what was outstanding on the 2019.
Okay, but then when you go to 2020, it starts now. You're
That's
saying
right.
that we got 21 million out.
Yeah,
And you so far have collected 10. And now we left still with 11 million that you haven't collected.
That's correct.
But by August the 30th of 2021, you should be somewhere in that neighborhood of 1 million again. Is that what we're saying? You should be collecting that other percentage of it to get it down, to be lower?
Yeah, this is just your 2020s, is your current one that has not added any interest. We just sent those out
If
in
you compare
July.
it 2 years, you can't compare it 2 years.
I've been trying to see.
Compare 19 and 20, that's what.
Now I'm looking at how the rates run, where I'm seeing that you build one thing, you collect it, and I'm saying that's the same current year of all that happened during that same year, right?
The 2020s is the
Yeah.
current year.
That same year.
Mr. Chairman, I may be able to help on that.
Yeah.
Generally, by August 31st, this is an approximation, half of the property taxes are collected. Because there's a discount and mortgage companies are required by law to pay the taxes and that type of thing. So that's what she's trying to say. Not only through June 30th did we see the decline this past year, but already through the first 2 months of the year, we recognize it's only 2 months. but generally about half of the property taxes have been collected, and she's already seen a further decline. So that's why we're trying to come to you in real time.
That's what, okay, I understand.
So too, if I may mention something to consider, I'm sure you already have, but when it comes to mortgages, because of the pandemic, most companies or lenders, they are giving 60, 90-day deferred payments on certain loans. And so that might be one of the reasons why we're not receiving the tax collection as we normally would by August, end of August, is because they're not having, certain lenders are forgiving, not forgiving, but letting clients defer their payments because of the pandemic. So that's just something, I don't know if that's crossed your mind or if that would make any sense. But I do know regulations that mortgage limit require that, but they're saying before they're deferring your payments 60, 90 days, 30, 60, 90 days, then there is that wiggle room where, it might be September, October, November before we start seeing those come in. Something to consider.
So what I'm hearing tonight is just requesting that maybe on September 21st, if you just approve converting their part-time position to a full-time position, as I think this will be a wise investment to the county. And I think it will be a great return. So thank you for your
Thank you,
time
Ms.
and
Davis.
consideration.
On another part-time position instead of a full-time position.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Yeah, worry about that.
Emergency Service, Nathan Dowell.
May I ask her a question?
Yes, sir. Hold on, Mr. Davis.
Ms. Davis,
I'm sorry.
I just got one question. Appreciate the communication that you sent out in regards to sale price versus access value. How successful do you think we believe in selling this property?
Those that I sent was just the ones that the assessed was less than the sale price, right?
Right.
There is one on there that is already went, actually I come to the board, it's already been approved, and they actually won the bid, but they have 30 days to pay it. Now whether they come, there are some people that do not pay, they'll lose their money, but I have one on there that has actually
Paid more than
won.
access value. So you think this would be a pretty good track record we got coming up based on past practices?
That's probably only there's just been a couple that's been like that they'll pay the sale prices,
Higher than that?
higher than the assessed.
But when we doing this and on that too, when we acquire the property and the taxation, we don't receive any tax and we're trying to collect what's past due. So if it drags out 2 or 3 years, you start losing taxes on the property. Do you look at talking with the manager about a midway point where you can say, let's liquidate the property? Is it any time you consider how can you liquidate it? What's the feasible price to liquidate it? How do you get rid of it? Do you don't ever consider an offset on it? Because it's like I'm some of it's $3,000 or $4,000. How is it assessed? Do we look at seeing what can be done to liquidate it? Somebody might buy it at $500 or $1,000, $2,000 or $3,000. That's kind of hard to buy.
It would be up to, like, when I come to you with that bid, just like tonight with the one that was $3,000 versus what we had investment to it.
But what I'm asking, if this property's been in this position for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you're constantly losing money because you're not collecting the tax on it. Do we ever look and say, okay, we done lost $1,000? You're going the opposite direction. You can't sell it and you're losing $1,000. Do we ever look at it? And y'all, you and Greg ever look at it and say, let's see, can we get rid of it, keep from losing money?
Now, we need to put it on the agenda, the commissioners need to vote.
Yeah, Mr. Gardner, that was, remember the time we had the auction here in the Superior Court? That was part of the thought process for that.
That's what I'm saying. Do we need to bring that concept back to what we're doing to try and liquidate this stuff and put it back on tax books? Because we started losing money. I don't see a reason why you keep losing money on it. After you get a certain period of time, like when you foreclose, when it gets to a certain period, it's time to do something with it.
Unfortunately, that's a limited number of properties, you know, in that, with that situation.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Davis, there's one on here, the access value is $6,000 more than the sale price. That's gonna be hard to say.
And it could be that there may have been a mobile home, remember we were talking about that? Or even a house they demolished it at some point.
Okay.
That's all I was asking. Have y'all looked at that and kind of says, to bring it back to the board and say, it's at a point that we need to refocus on how we're gonna liquidate this property? Do y'all come up with a plan on that? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that could be something that we look at, whether it's an auction or a sealed bid or something.
Thank you, Mr. Emergency Service, Nathan Dawes.
Good evening. Thank you all for letting me come before you tonight. I have 3 items on the agenda. The first, before we get to any of them, I will tell you that each of these items are related to our emergency management preparedness grant that we receive every year through the county from the state of North Carolina. Each policy on here is important, but it is part of our us receiving that grant every year. So, number 1, or A, is consider approving the Bladen County mass feeding policy. This was a special project done by Area 5. This year, every county in Area 5 for emergency management region in the state was tasked with doing a mass feeding policy. So, I wrote one. I don't know if you had a chance to read through it, review over it. This is how things would work in a perfect world. I know in Hurricane Florence, we had a lot of volunteer agencies coming to the county and other entities wanting to feed, going places, and there was some duplication. So we took it upon ourselves to try to rectify some of that. We got a plan moving forward. So I ask you to consider approving that mass feeding policy for Bladen County.
Mr. Dallas, very good job. I got 3 questions I want to ask just for clarification for me. On page 6, you got it with me?
No, I'll get it.
Where it talks about central coordination site / lead pod. I was wondering, put the Paul Accessing building, but I was wondering if the emergency training building needs to be added in case the river, the bridges.
So
is that one that we need to add, or how would?
I can add that, and my thought, we use a system with DLC, you're probably familiar with it, Mr. Peterson, but essentially in the past, our main point of distribution where we receive goods and things like that from the state has been the training center. The only problem with that is a lot of times if it's a small event that we request stuff, or even a large event, there's a lot of moving parts, and 90% of the time, we usually have somebody in the EOC at a large event that I can say, okay, I've been notified, we got 5 pallets of water coming, and it's easier to walk over to the Paul Sessions building than it is to get up. But I can't put that on there.
Well, I understand that, but Greg, the hurricane was so bad that the telephones, everything was out. We almost lost the communication from the river.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking that it could be a substation, don't have to be the point of delivery, but I think that's important. If we're going to do this document, it's going to be a living document. We consider that if it's okay with you.
Yeah, it is. And this document is made to be a living document that we can update at our issue.
Okay. And then the second question I had when I was looking at your central coordination sites, there's not a whole lot for White Oak, Live Oak, and Hammond, the northern part of the county. I know you've got Tario, you've got White Oak, and you've got one in Garland. I was, that last flood that hit White Oak pretty bad and the stuff, people couldn't get in and stuff. I just wanted you to look at, just consider that again, or you might have it covered.
Who knows where he's getting by?
I was looking at northern part of the county, White Oak, Live Oak, and Hammond in that area. Well, they got hit pretty hard. And then the third, final question I had was, you got a food unit chef. Is that someone to be named or?
No, that'll be somebody that food unit, say it again?
Chef.
Chef? No, that's not. It will be considered if the state, Baptist Association come in, or if we actually, it's been tossed around with different organizations to have maybe cook meals at the training center, since we've got a full kitchen now, but yeah, that would be somebody that we would name, but we don't have anybody.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because he acts like he's pretty much in charge of the food. Well, I did read it all, it's a very good document, that was just one of the upgrades, or suggested upgrades, thank you.
And we can definitely add those, at any time.
Let's go with D, and maybe we can call for one vote, if that's all right, everybody.
And B, is our 264 page, I think is what it is, emergency operations plan. It does get, a little in depth in places on that, and there's also plans that piggyback off of our basic emergency operations plan. But this year was what we call a crosswalk year for us, which is what the state reviews. Once if y'all approve this document tonight, I'll have to sit down and do another 10-page document that outlines different areas of that plan that we'll send to the state for their approval. So we actually revamped that document this year. We used a lot of what we had in the past, but now we've got COVID-19 pandemics, and as we all know, 2020 has been a challenging year. So some things that the state seen we needed to add, and some changes, just changing from Bradley over to me, some changes we made in the EOC, the way things are going to work. And there again, both of these documents are how things work in a perfect world. We always have to do things on the fly in events and things like that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
the 10-page document you mentioned, you bring it here before you send it to the state, or how does that work?
No, what it is a crosswalk, and when we do an emergency operations plan for our county, it has to address specific things like who has the authority to declare a state of emergency, which is the chairman. Who does the chairman delegate power to in the EOC, which is usually the emergency services.
Right. Okay.
Who does the emergency service director? It'll ask specific questions, and we have to go through the EOP and put down exactly what page number that's on, where we got that from, specific ordinances we passed that the commissioners have done in the past.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion that A and B be approved.
Got a motion by Mr. Bullock to approve A and B.
With the potential changes, or you want to bring it back?
With the suggested changes being considered.
Are they good changes, or you?
Yeah, they are good changes. I will, the part of the county that you want to, the changing the training center to a secondary location, that's an easy fix. I can fix that in 5 minutes. It will take some time to set up some potential points of distribution in other parts of the county. These pre-established ones have people already established that are willing to serve. I will tell you, this is a very time-sensitive document for us to get approval from the state for our EMPG grant this year, which means dollars, but
we can still work on it after the fact.
yeah, we can still work on it after the fact. And I can certainly bring it back to next week and say these are the changes we've made to let you know.
Maybe your fire department that volunteer to you get something better or different.
Yes, sir.
So I'll second that comment. I want to make was I went to the table of contents and about 5, 6, 7 pages, and I see we talking about vegetarians and all this stuff. I didn't read that.
Yeah, we have to put all that in there, and there again, it's a perfect world. I mean, we can't, obviously, when a storm or after an event, we can't accommodate every diet. We try to the best of our ability to do that, but it's hard. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do.
Again, we got a
I don't
motion.
believe we're going to hold you accountable for this 248 Bladen County.
Say we will, I promise you.
Again, we got a motion by Mr. Bullock with the changes by a second by Mr. Peterson. Any further discussion? If not, regret, I approve. Mr. Peterson made a second. Mr. Gooden?
Approve.
Gooden approved. Mr. Dallas? Approved. Approved. Mr. Bullock made the motion. He approved. Mr. Cogdell? Approved. Ms. Trivett?
Approved.
Has anybody got Dr. Mungoin on the line now?
We've charged this on. She should be on.
All right. Dr. Mungoin?
I didn't get the last person, I'm sorry. Did you?
Everybody approved.
Yes, approved.
All right. Thank you.
So, item C is also part of our, this is one of our EMPG optionals this year. And the way EMPG works, Emergency Management Preparedness Grant, that's money that comes back to the county that we use to pay emergency management salary or buy the pieces of equipment we need for mitigation for disaster. I'll try to keep this as brief as I can, but there are some requirements to this. Per the sheet, the signing sheet that I think Ms. Maria and Ms. Coleman had you sign before the meeting. They kind of gave us a topic this year. Usually I know we've done these in the past. It's been a PowerPoint presentation. You kind of do what you want to. But this year my Area 5 coordinator posed, I want you to talk about what is emergency management. So this is our public officials emergency management program update. And she said, think about that when you talk to your public officials. So to me, emergency management, the biggest thing in emergency management is relationship building, relationship maintaining. And the reason I say that is because emergency managers in emergency services department in Bladen County, we are responsible for creating the framework that we use to reduce our community's vulnerability to disasters or hazards. We also help provide ability and resources to cope after the disaster via our mass feeding plan that we just talked about. And obviously we can't do that by ourselves. We all know that. We all experience Hurricane Florence. It takes a lot of people, a lot of hands. It takes every department in this county. All the way up from you guys helping, all the way down to any department in this county. Waste management operations, you name them, Parks and Rec. They're all involved in emergency management operations. So with that being said, relationships are important. We try to maintain relationships, not only with public services, but also private industry, our power companies, our volunteer organizations such as the Bladen Disaster Recovery Team, Red Cross, Bladen Baptist Association. So these are constant relationships that we're having to maintain all the time. We're in constant contact with these people. Private business owners have stepped up in the past. I can't tell you how many times we've borrowed a fuel tanker from a logging operation in the county, or a logging business. So all events start local and end local, but we always need help from our state, our local partners, and things like that. I always like to think of emergency management as a wheel, and we're the center hub of that wheel and the different spokes that run off of it, our schools, public health, certainly public health. Me and Dr. Duncan have worked very closely this year, obviously with this COVID-19 pandemic, with the health department being the lead agency, with us kind of facilitating, trying to help out with some of their needs with other departments and things like that. So it takes everybody. We're a small department, but we certainly can't do it. We work with our fire departments every year on our ISO ratings and things like that, and also with rescue operations, all sorts of operations those guys do. So we have to maintain those relationships constantly. So to me, emergency management is a whole lot bigger than that, but a very, very important aspect. I would say maybe one of the most important aspects of emergency management is relationship and relationship maintaining. Another thing she asked us to talk about is shelters, our shelters. As you know, in Bladen County, our main two shelters are our two high schools, East and West Bladen. We've worked with the state this year through Hurricane Matthew and Florence money to get generators to sustain those facilities during a storm if we lose power, to maintain our air conditioners and things like that. We were awarded a grant. We quickly realized that it's going to take a little bit more money than was applied for. We have went back to the state and asked for additional funds for that. We're currently working with them now. But sheltering is a huge operation. Just the storm we had, Hurricane Isaias, we set up 2 shelters. It is a huge undertaking to set one shelter. Cots. This time with COVID with PPE, personnel, coordination with the Health Department and Social Services to staff these, take staff in the EOC, coordination with the schools. They've got to cook meals, clean. Our operations, people have to clean after these storms. So sheltering is a huge operation. It's a very important operation. But we have done things this year to try to ease the time it takes to do the shelter operations. We've done what you call shelter trailers. So we know exactly where the number of cots that we're going to need at different shelters to deploy those out to quickly, rapidly, because the people who are setting these shelters up are also working in the emergency operations center on documents and resource requests and things like that. Quick overview of some things that's went on this year in emergency management since I started. I think June 15th was my 1-year mark here. The region of Bladen, Columbus, Robinson that y'all previously approved, I think a couple months ago, regional hazard mitigation plan was completed. Myself and Greg Elkins and all the towns were heavily involved in that and several meetings for that. Mass feeding plan that y'all were just made aware of. I spoke on establishing our shelter teams and trailers. I revised the emergency operations plan that we just talked about. We've also established an equipment maintenance plan with some of the equipment we use during storms and shelter operations. When I first started, I met with Mr. McCleary and a big thing with us was trying to get this equipment, use it on a regular basis. It's not every day you use a 20 kW generator. We've got it, but we don't use them every day. So like y'all know as well as I do, when things sit and don't get used, they tend to need a lot of maintenance. So we've established a plan to run those on a monthly basis. So every time a storm's coming in, we're not running over to operations, trying to get 17 generators fixed in a day. So we're trying to maintain those as we see problems with them instead of last minute. Grants for the generators for the high school. Also, we have applied and we're in the final stages of a stormwater drainage study for all our participating municipalities in the county. I think that grant's about $1.9 million. If we receive that, we'll be working with the towns closely on doing drainage studies for each participating town in the county. And I think we spoke of that. Also, still managing our HMGP grants that we update you on. Hurricane Matthew, that's winding down. We've got a couple of properties left in that. Hurricane Florence is just ramping up good. Still dealing with Hurricane Matthew Disaster Relief Act money. Just completed 2 houses on that and got some money left and we'll try to use that up quickly. As far as events in the last year, Hurricane Dorian, not a major hurricane, my first one as emergency manager. Hurricane Isaias we just had, and obviously COVID-19 that started back in January and has carried who knows how long. So we continue to work with the health department on that. That's all I've got for the public hearing. Any questions?
I've got one more turn like that.
Yes, sir.
At one time we spoke about the cost to operate the emergency management facility. if the county goes to get into kind of a grant system for that type of operation, where we have people coming in to help handle costs and expense, do we ever get anything on that?
So we do, right now, our chapel is being occupied by NC Rebuild as the intake center. Obviously, that chapel is closed because of COVID, but they do pay us a monthly fee for that, even though they're not in there. They fully furnished that facility with furniture, office furniture, new office furniture. It's in the agreement that when they depart, the office furniture belongs to the county at that point. We've got a Marines training exercise that's coming up in October. And we'll be sending an invite out for that for a VIP viewing area. In years past, they've asked for a contract with a fire department, the sheriff's office, and an EMS unit, and they pay for the overtime or the vehicle uses. This year we added a facilities use fee in there. So I think it was $1,500, I believe it was, to offset some of the costs because they'll be staying out there for a night. Trying to think, there's also the Army, obviously we're not going to charge the college, we're not going to charge the sheriff's office or any county training that goes on out there or training classes for our local fire departments. And anytime there's a request from an outside agency such as the military or any outside agency, we do try to collect a minimal fee to cover the cost.
That's the only reason I know we had talked about this one time about trying to feel like the state troopers be out there training.
Most of the time, the state troopers are back on the firing range.
So, okay. So
which that belongs to the law enforcement
So
association.
you turn to the use of the way the facility been used, and not control the way.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And also, Mr. Cogdell, I just want to add this, they have been able to obtain grants out of their sheriff's office for certain upgrades to the facility, like paving last year. They spent $100,000 out there in grant dollars that was available to us to actually resurface all of the paving out there and increase the parking area near the chapel, which we're utilizing now. So they have been able to obtain grants to upgrade that facility, to help with that facility.
Well, that's great. Do you make that funding available to us to see what funding comes in? Do we have a chance to take a look at that down there?
Yes, sir, but, Mr. McCleary indicated there have been 2 years the county has received grants. One was for $200,000 the first year, and then $100,000 this past year.
And the more training we have out there, and the more we can keep up with those numbers of what we have, it makes us eligible for these grant dollars.
And the people being referred also.
Yeah, USDA's out there, they pay a monthly or yearly.
But the only reason to bring this up is because when I was on board with Mr. Peterson, I think he was on that. We started this thing off with $16,000, and I know it's costing a whole lot more than that. So I'm just trying to figure out where we're going.
Well, we usually maintain, I think our budget for maintenance of the facility now is around $6,000 a year.
Okay. I know we started with a fee, and now
It might be $6,700.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank you very much.
Health and Human Services, Dr. Terry.
Good evening. It's a long one for y'all tonight. So we'll start with the code update, and if we had talked a week or so ago, we would have a little bit better news than today, but there's still some good news today. Currently in North Carolina, there's 178,635 positive confirmed lab cases, with 827 hospitalized and 2,909 deaths. If the death rate continues at the rate it has been by the end of the week, certainly by the weekend we have the 3,000 mark. It generally goes around 25 to 30 a day, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. The percent positive rate today for the state is 6.2%. That's important because we want to be 5% or less. Now this time, last weekend, we were running, Bladen County was running at a 6-7% rate. Today, we're running at 9.9%, and we have been the last 4 or 5 days running at 10 to 11. So we have if just like every other place in the nation, if you can name a place in the county, then there's some COVID in the county. So we got a few areas that are smoldering, but we've been able to, as we identify cases there and clusters there, we're able to work with agencies and individuals and families to mitigate that. In the last month or so, at one point, we had 40 active cases. Today, we have 73. So that's, again, on the rise. Currently today, we have 771 positive cases in Bladen County, with 8 currently hospitalized. We've got another one, but tomorrow I know that we have 9. We have 10 deaths, and we have 688 estimated recovered. So when we look at the demographics, they haven't changed a whole lot since I was here last month with you. The highest percentage rate, 43.3% in the 25 to 49 group. And you've heard nationally that that younger group, the 18 to 24, is rising. And we have had some university students that came home, and we've had some cases there, and you've heard Bladen County's not immune to that either. So the females continue to be just a little bit lower at 46.6%, and our males at 53.1%. Our African American population is 25% of our cases. The Caucasian is 41.6%, and a 20.3% other. The Hispanics are 34.4%, and non-Hispanics 46%. So how many folks have we tested in Bladen County? Since I met with you last time, we've increased somewhere between, in the low end or high, 1,500 to 3,000 or 4,000. At minimum, we know we tested 539, which is about 15.2% of the population of Bladen County. At a maximum, we've tested somewhere around 7,982, which is 24.1% of the county. So what are we doing right now? We are working on, you may have heard that there's a vaccine that's coming. We have been notified to be prepared for a vaccine for at-risk groups as early as November the 1st. And each county will receive somewhere around 100 doses. Those vaccines would be for, they haven't identified the high-risk population groups yet, but one of those they have said, of course, will be healthcare workers. They have also told us to be prepared for the mass vaccination of the general population as early as March of next year. There are several kinds of vaccines. There's one that's a one-shot. Literally, you get one shot, and then there's another that you have to have 2 injections. And there's a third one that has to be kept at some low freezing temperatures. And it said that we weren't getting the low freezing temperatures, thank goodness, because I don't know how we would keep them. We are also looking at additional testing sites. I know I talked to CVS today. They will start testing here on Friday of this week. It'll be a drive-through. There will be drive-through, the pharmacy drive-through. They will have certain hours, and the gentleman I talked with today didn't know if they were going to do it every day, but he thought so. So it will be a self-administered test and observed by the pharmacist and or a technician there. Like the other testing, it would be at no cost out of the pocket to the individual. If you have insurance or Medicaid, then the individual will get that card. If not, then it is go through another funding mechanism. We also are looking at some telemedicine possibilities in the health department, particularly with our maternity. Right now, we haven't had any problems, but it's anticipated that telemed is going to be the way to go. I know that the hospital and their clinics here have done telemed, and while we have the funding, this is the time to look at it.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Why would you take that funding and give it to the hospital and you tell them at the hospital?
I don't think I can do that.
Yes.
It's public health funds. So, but we'll see. There is, I understand there's some heavy bills on this.
You have to get those to the hospital.
So all three of the positions. This would be fully funded by the agreement addenda 549. And in your package, you had the reasons that we were asking for that, our justification. So I asked for consideration of your approval of these part-time positions. That would be for a year.
You gonna pay for them how?
Through the agreement addenda funding. The agreement addenda funding was actually for contact tracing and testing. It's pretty limited. It was $127,000.
Like no expense to the county.
No expense to the county.
I just got a question, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Duncan, for bilingual individuals, do you have bilinguals on your staff?
Yes, sir. We have two, and we also have a interpreter line where we have over 20 interpreters, multiple languages, as well as, for the non-Hispanic, non-English. And we also, it does deaf-mute because it really is a telemed so that you can buy video.
Okay, it's good. So you're saying you got bilinguals on your staff in the
Two
location?
interpreters, yes, sir.
Got a motion by Mr. Peterson, and a second by Mr. Gooden. Any further discussion? Roll call, Ray Britt approves. Mr. Peterson, yes. Mr. Gooden, yes. Mr. Dallas? Yes. Yes. Mr. Bullock?
Yeah.
Mr. Bullock, yes. Mr. Cogdell?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Cogdell. Mr. Trivett?
Yes, approved.
Mr. Trivett, yes. Dr. Mundowitz?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. General Certificate declared correct.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I asked for your consideration tonight for a change order in the current building project going on here in the courthouse. When the contractor began ordering his glass panels for this total project, he discovered that we needed 11 additional panels over and above what was originally estimated for this project. And after some discussion and negotiations on this thing, he is requesting a change order of the amount of $6,557. Ask that you consider approving that change order.
Got a motion by Mr. Peterson. Second. Second by Mr. Gooden. Any further discussion? Roll call, Ray Britt, yes. Mr. Peterson, yes. Mr. Gooden, yes. Mr. Dallas? Yes. Mr. Dallas, yes. Mr. Bullock? Yes. Mr. Bullock, yes. Mr. Cogdell? Yes. Mr. Cogdell, yes. Ms. Trivett?
Yes.
Ms. Trivett, yes. Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
Thank you.
I got a question, Mr. Gill.
Yes.
And Robin didn't give me this information. But the IT equipment stuff, where there's window units and stuff like that, have we got everything ironed out that we're not gonna have a window unit sticking out the
We
building?
are working on not having those units.
Well, we don't want that.
We don't want those units, no, sir. So we're working on how we're going
I promise you, it's.
to improve airflow in those rooms to eliminate that. Yes, sir. I hope you like the quality of the work that's coming.
Well, we change the look of the building, look a lot better.
One thing that I hope you will notice tonight is the sound. You don't hear trucks rolling by, you don't hear vehicles passing. When the old ones were there, when the pickup trucks came by with loud pipes, you had to stop, wait for them to pass to continue on. And that has been a big improvement. Plus, we're also seeing change in the way these units are running in this room since we fired everything back up.
Even employees are happy.
Even employees are happy.
It's hold tight for me, Claire.
Thanks, sir.
Can I get a motion to consider entering session of Bladen County Water District Board Director? Got a motion by Mr. Gooden, second by Mr. Trivett. Roll call, Ray Britt, yes. Mr. Peterson? Mr. Gooden, yes. Mr. Dallas? Yes. Mr. Bullock?
Yeah.
Yes. Mr. Cogdell? Yes. Mr. Trivett? Yes. Dr. Mungowens?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Claire, go ahead.
Thank you very much. The next item here is we have an update on our current phase 4 contract work that's going on across the county. You've seen some of these contractors already working in the area. To date, Harry Brown Bark is completed in the phase 1, contract 1, which will be water main construction. He's completed about 80% pipes that go under the creek crossings. He's completed 10 of the 11 creek crossings. And within the next 3 or 4 weeks, construction will also begin along the same road, making Robinson Road and Airport Road. So they're moving right along. The production well, I've got some good news regarding that. Bill's Well Drilling has basically completed the construction of the proposed well and has run some 24-hour pump tests on that well. It looks like that well is going to be an even higher yield than was originally designed for.
Water quality.
Water quality, there's a question right now on our pump rates versus some turbidity. We're seeing some color. And when I say color, it has a little bit of an orange tint and a white cup. We're thinking if we back down the pumping rate, because we've been pumping that thing at like 500 gallons a minute. If we back it down to 400 gallons a minute, we're going to run another test and see if that clears up. The original design was for a 300 gallon a minute well. We've tapped into a vein of water there that could yield 500, but it may have some color. So if we slow it down a little bit, we think we might get into something here that we can do with around 400 gallons a minute. That's going to require some additional testing to have higher yielding well. And then in contract 3, water meter replacement. He's got water main, but it's water meter replacement for the line. G2 Utilities, who is their subcontractor doing the actual meter installs. To date, they put in about 900 meters out there and a few more today. They came in the office today, they've taken an update. And that's also required us to talk to Southern Software, who is our billing provider for our water on communication between 401 programs and our current software. So they've designed this patch between these two and helping us actually upload the information from these new meters that are currently being activated and integrating it into our system, so our staff won't have to do 6,600 meters manually and do all the adjustments that go along with that. So Southern Software has been incorporated to help us with that part. Do we have any questions or discussion? That concludes my report.
So the people that deferred their payments, is all that set up and
The COVID work, yes, sir. That is in effect as of this time. All 322, I think it was, we were looking at that had fallen behind in their payments.
everybody agreed and everybody's paying?
Well, they've been given a 6 month.
All right. So you won't run until 6 months?
We've established payment plans for them, but some coming in paying it off, some are asking for that extension, and these first bills go out right now, showing that information on there. And what it will be is we've taken the outstanding balance divided by 6 for the 6 months, plus their current usage will be on every bill going forward.
So you just keep us updated on that.
We'll keep you apprised of that in high school.
What about item C?
Sir, item C. Okay, item C, we have brought to you tonight. Previously, in the previous budget year, we had money allocated for the construction of a storage facility on our current operations site to store and house our water materials. This will be pipe, meters, fittings, everything we need that maintains the water system. That's currently been stored in some containers and on the ground and on some pipe racks behind the building. We want to get this stuff indoors and take better care of our equipment and the things that we actually use out there to maintain the water system. So, that being said, we contracted an engineer to help us design the site, design the building. It turns out it's basically a 40 by 60 metal building that it will have some insulation and an interior wall around the inside for just protecting the insulation on the inside of the building. It's a basic building with one roll-up door, one entry door with concrete floor. We put it out for bid and opened the bids informally on August 25th. 5 contractors were invited to bid, plus it was advertised on the internet and in the local papers.
Your entry is not valid.
So what we've ended up with there in opening the bids, Bill Worley, contracting out of Chadman, who did the addition on the front of the ESS, was a current low bidder. at $106,129 total. Judy Shaw was $110, Ron Builders was $151,190, and the contractors out of Fayetteville was $189,107, and JKR Contracting out of Fuquay declined bid. So I am requesting tonight that the board consider approving the contract with Bill Worley and Sons General Contractors for the amount of $106,129 that have been constructed.
Where is that approved coming from?
Sir?
Where is that money coming from?
That money is coming from water operations money, capital reserve that was approved from last year's budget and brought forward into this year's budget.
Got a motion by Mr. Cogdell.
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Bullock. Any further discussion? Roll call. Ray Riddick, yes. Mr. Peterson?
Yeah.
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes.
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 Mr. Dallas, yes. Mr. Bullock?
Yeah.
Already. Mr. Cogdell, already approved. Ms. Trigger?
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Mungoins?
I could not hear you.
The approval on the $106,000 to build the building for meters and piping and all for the water department, and money was already set aside for it, and everyone has approved, except you.
I sure can't understand. I could just think what you're saying, and I can barely hear you, so I'm going to just say.
Not anybody else.
But I went low, and I couldn't hear it.
We're voting on 11C, and everyone agreed to it, and we're waiting on a vote.
And this is, for the contractors,
For the contract to build the building.
I will vote that, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Approved, Madam Clerk. All in favor? Can I get a motion to exit water board?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Gooden to exit water board. Got a second by Dr. Mungoins. Thank you, Dr. Mungoins. Roll call. Ray Griggs, yes. Mr. Peterson? Yes. Mr. Peterson, yes. Mr. Gooden made the motion. Mr. Dallas?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yeah.
Mr. Bullock, yes. Mr. Cogdell? Yes. Mr. Cogdell. Ms. Trigger?
Yes.
Trigger, yes. And Dr. Mungoins, second. So moved. Advisory board appointments. Tupper Moore Fire Department Firefighters Relief Fund Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman?
Is that
Kenneth Kane.
got a Kenneth
I
Kane?
second that.
Got a motion by Mr. Peterson for Kenneth Kane. Got a second by Mr. Bullock. Any further discussion? Roll call. Ray Griggs, yes. Mr. Peterson made the motion. Mr. Gooden?
Yes.
Mr. Gooden, yes. Mr. Dallas?
Yes.
Mr. Dallas, yes. Mr. Bullock made the second. Mr. Cogdell?
Yes.
Mr. Cogdell, yes. Ms. Trigger?
Yes.
Trigger, yes. Dr. Mungoins?
Yes.
Yes. So moved. All in favor? Thank you so much. Advisory board appointments for consideration in September. The 21st meeting will be Keep Bladen Beautiful, Voluntary Agriculture Districts Committee 1. County Manager, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to briefly review the calendar with you for the remainder of the month of September and for October. And point out that on the 14th, next Monday at 5 p.m., the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee will hold a virtual meeting, and the board meets on the 21st at 6:30 p.m. Moving over to the month of October, on Thursday the 1st at 12 p.m., there's a JCTC virtual meeting. On Sunday the 4th, this is not on the calendar yet, there will be a community event at the farmer's market that will include singing from various groups, and then the Echoes is a group that sings here locally, and they'll participate. That will be at 3 p.m. from 3 to 5 at the farmer's market. On Monday the 5th at 8 a.m., there's a prayer service here. The board meets that evening at 6:30. On Tuesday the 6th at 6:30, there's a 8:30 a.m. the Bladen Ministerial Association meeting. We still have a hard time confirming that. But, on Monday the 12th at 5 p.m., the Health and Human Services virtual meeting will take place. Actually, that may be. We move back to They're moving back to the conference room, it looks like. Uh, Chamber meets on the 13th, the virtual meeting at 12 p.m. And the Board of County Commissioners meets on the 19th at 6 o'clock. Is there any questions regarding the calendar? Move to item B. We have received a request from Pastor David Tate requesting to use the courthouse lawn on Tuesdays in October for a prayer meeting. It's primarily men that do meetings. Women attend, that'd be fun. But the dates are the 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th at 7 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second. Got a motion by Mr. Peterson, got a second by Mr. Gooden. Any further discussion?
How is, Mr. Martin, is this being advertised for the, throughout the community, or how would they?
I'm sure it will if it's approved.
6 to 13.
Yes, sir, the Tuesdays, the 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th at 7 p.m.
Got a roll call. Greg Green, yes. Mr. Peterson made the motion. Mr. Gooden, second. Mr. Dallas? Yes. Mr. Dallas, yes. Mr. Bullock?
Yeah.
Mr. Bullock, yes. Mr. Cogdale? Mr. Cogdale, yes. Ms. Trivett?
Yes.
Ms. Trivett, yes. Dr. Mungoins?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to item C, the board has requested to consider approving a community development block grant coronavirus program application. This is a new program that just came out the latter part of August. And the purpose that it was discussed with our small business committee last week when we met, and the purpose that we would like to use the grant funds for would be to assist folks who are having difficulty paying their rent payments or utility payments. So that could be electric or water, sewer, that type of thing. There's about $26.5 million to $28 million, somewhere in that ballpark, available with $28 million. Each award would be no more than $900,000. So I don't know exactly how large it would be, but just kind of put that in perspective. There are a lot of hoops to jump through, as you all may recall, with CDBG programs that have a number of very prescriptive activities that need to take place, including public hearings and that type of thing. So we would need to follow that protocol. Another requirement is to work with someone who has experience in CDBG projects. We've talked with Jen Mr. Maynard at the Council of Governments, and she's willing to help us with that. We actually met with her this morning. Also, they encourage you to partner with local government, to partner with a nonprofit. And so our thought is to talk with Bladen Crisis Assistance. As you all know, we have a staff person that shares with Bladen Crisis in the county, jointly funded. And so that seems like that would be a good fit. If the commissioners are interested in us moving forward, we'll be glad to submit an application. I'm sure it's going to be competitive, so let's do that.
Got a motion by Mr. Bullock. Mr. Cogdale. Got a second by Mr. Trigger. Roll call. Ray Grigg, yes. Mr. Peterson, yes. Mr. Good?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Dallas?
Yes.
Mr. Dallas, yes. Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock, yes. Mr. Trigger and Mr. Cogdale was yes. Dr. Mungoins?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Just got a question, sir, Mr. Chairman. With nonprofit being involved with this?
They encourage local governments to work with nonprofits. That's why I was thinking
Religious
Bladen Crisis.
organization.
Sir?
Religious organization.
I don't know about religious organizations. I don't know that would be frowned upon or not.
And would DSS be involved?
Because 51%, at least 51% of the eligible applicants are required to be low to moderate income, there will definitely need to be income verification provided. And so that's why Bladen Crisis, as I indicated, has a position that's jointly funded. It's an employee of DSS that works with Bladen Crisis. It's funded half by the county and half by Bladen Crisis. So it seems like that'd be an ideal fit. As far as
So we'll get more information on this when it gets forward.
Yes, sir. We'll need to schedule public hearings and that type of thing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for approving that. And then I just want to let you know that we have received charitable contribution applications. We actually received an updated one today on the Smart Start for $26,000. So that's, I think you may have 10 on that sheet that you So that's definitely an increase in their request. We'll plan to come back to you at a future meeting. As you all may recall, we've kind of done a set allocation to each of the agencies here in the past few years. There are about 4 agencies that have applied that did not receive funding this past year. So that would really, remember, we only have $6,425 appropriated. And that includes money that has traditionally been appropriated to the hospital foundation, as well as the United Way Day of Caring. So it seems like the request is much larger than the available funding this year.
So the application deadline passed already?
I think it was back, yes, sir, it has. And again, this one from Smart Straw was the unsolicited. Also, I want to remind you.
How can they adjust if it's already passed?
I don't know, it just came, like I said, it was unsolicited. And it just came late, so. I also want to remind you about legislative goals. We discussed that briefly in the last meeting. We'll plan to revisit that at our next meeting. That's due to be submitted by the Commissioning Officer. Mr. Chairman, if there are no questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming. Can I get a motion to go into closed session at this time? Got a motion by Mr. Peters, got a second by Mr. Gooden. Roll call, Ray Grigg, yes. Mr. Dallas, yes. Mr. Bullock, yes. Mr. Cogdale, yes. Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Dr. Mondorens,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. And appreciate everyone coming, but we got that.